To kick things off, let's look at the types of businesses in solar. This will help you understand who some of the key players are, who may be important to you, and what role you may want to play within the solar industry and indeed within one of these organizations. Businesses in the solar industry consist of developers, engineering, procurement, construction companies, equipment manufacturers, distributors, asset managers, regulatory bodies, and of course utilities. While this isn't an exhaustive list, these are the key entities that are involved in the business of solar. Developers. What are solar developers? Solar developers create the opportunity for projects. In other words, if the land or building owner does not want to implement a project, or in other words, conceive the project themselves, then the developer will assume responsibility for the project and take care of all aspects of the project from conception to connection and then finally operation. There are different sizes or different classes of solar developer. The residential solar developer, really looking at installation on homes or small farms. Commercial solar developer on typically what's referred to as C&I, commercial and industrial, rooftops or ground mounts, carports. And then finally, the largest are utility scale solar developers. It should be noted that developers can participate in any or all of these categories. In fact, some do across all three, while others specialize in one or two. Let's have a look at the development process overview. Again, here we're just covering off the major steps, and in fact, some developers will do this in slightly different order or combined steps. So first of all, securing the site. This is arranging for the lease or purchase of the rooftop or ground mount, whatever the site is that the solar array will be placed or built on. Secondly, of course, there's financing, arranging the appropriate funding for the project, getting the right rates that will make best economic sense to the overall business case of the project. Next, engineering, procurement, and construction. I should note that some companies will insource one or more of these to themselves. Some companies will outsource all three to either one or several companies that will take care of all of these activities. Then finally, turn on, operation, and maintenance. Making sure that, of course, once the site is turned on, it performs as expected, and then, of course, putting together the plan to see the site operate over the next several years. 3. Engineering, procurement, and construction. Engineering, procurement, and construction companies are partners that work with developers or are part of a development company, or they may indeed work independently. They work to engineer, procure, and construct the solar facility. EPC companies are critical in making sure that systems are installed correctly and safely. They follow all of the safety guidelines, design principles, installation instructions, and build systems according to specifications. EPCs will have certified technicians to make sure every connection is safe and approved by your governing agency. They usually make money by charging a markup on the services that they provide. Equipment manufacturers. Now, when we talk about equipment manufacturers, they're a huge part of the industry. Aside from the fact that they actually produce or manufacture the equipment that the developer may purchase and install, their innovation lead to lowering costs and increasing efficiencies in production. Let's have a look at what components they provide. Modules, also known as solar panels. These are the key components in any solar array. The racking, In other words, the mechanical components that support a solar module, either on the roof or the ground. Inverters. These take the DC voltage generated from the solar modules and convert it to AC voltage, which can be either used or transported over the grid. Transformers. These take the voltage and either increase or decrease it to make it match with the prevailing grid voltage. Balance of system component. These are all the miscellaneous fuses, wires, AC panels, and whatnot that support the system and make it all tie together. Distributors. Distributors are no different in the solar industry than they are in any other industry. They buy equipment from the manufacturers and distribute them to developers and installers. Having said this, most large-scale EPC companies and large-scale developers tend to purchase their equipment directly from the manufacturer to maximize bulk buying and cost savings. Distributors are a great source of balance of system equipment and can also be a great hub of knowledge about different equipment, trends, etc. that occur in the marketplace. Asset management, or operation and maintenance companies, are the companies providing operation, maintenance, and performance management of the solar array over its life expectancy. If designed correctly, the solar module and thus the solar array can have a life of 25 years or more. The longer the life of the solar installation, the more revenue and electricity we can generate from the system. Solar modules require low maintenance. Components such as racking, wiring, connections must be checked, tightened, torqued according to the manufacturer's specifications over the lifetime of the project. The inverter is another component that needs periodic maintenance. These companies look after, coordinate, manage, cost manage all of those operations. Regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies are usually government agencies or not-for-profit private institutions that govern the rules that apply to solar within their industry. Local or national government. These set rules for building codes or monetary tax credits. Power authorities mandate the power of the entire electrical grid in your jurisdiction. They have agendas that cover the energy generation and consumption of all the different types of energy resources within your jurisdiction. They also generate subsidies for renewable energy as required. Solar industry associations. These make up various industry leaders who promote and lobby solar to the government and beyond. Utilities. Utilities currently own and operate the grid that provides us electricity today, unless you're completely what we call off-grid. If you're connected to the grid, which most of us are, and most of the projects that we currently work with are, then the utilities are key to the development process as they allow the solar array to be connected to the grid. That means they have to make sure that the grid can handle the connection of the solar array, as well as the connection profile, or the amount of electricity and when you will port that electricity to the grid, are compatible with the grid. Utilities often charge connection costs and setup costs for solar to accommodate the connection requests. Utilities charge customers an electricity rate for electricity consumed based on what the government allows them. Financiers. Any entity that provides funding for the project. This can either be short-term or long-term financing. Some examples of financiers are commercial banking institutions, private lenders, corporations that may be looking for an ownership stake in the project itself. Summary. From this section, we learned solar developers, who they were, and solar developers create the opportunity for projects and manage all aspects of the project from conception to connection and operation. EPCs, engineering, procurement, construction companies, work to engineer, procure, and construct the solar facility. Equipment manufacturers generate price savings and equipment efficiencies as well as do the obvious, which is supply the equipment. Distributors enable a single point of contact for required equipment and function just as they do in any other industry. Asset management companies generally look after the operation and maintenance and performance of the systems after turn-on through the life of the project itself. Regulatory bodies are usually government agencies or not-for-profit institutions that govern the rules that apply to the solar industry. Utilities currently own and operate the grid that provides us electricity today and that our solar projects would be connected to. Financiers provide funding for the project.